Now, even as many Jamaicans are looking forward to attending entertainment events, there is still worry that large gatherings are a bad idea. Shamala Pullen has that report.
Party promoters for popular events such as Portland Jerk Festival and Passa Passa have been in planning mode ever since the government announced that it will allow them to stage their parties once they stay within the proposed COVID-19 guidelines. Apart from the hand sanitizing and temperature checks, promoters are now trying to find creative ways to ensure they abide by the rules.
I will be gridding up my venue in terms of marking it out to determine how many people can be in one area. And of course, my servers will be wearing masks, and we'll definitely have tapes that will be playing in all of my events that says, remember the protocol of COVID-19. Physical distancing, no shouting from the patrons, so as to ensure that we don't have excess droplets. And where we're going to have the selectors or the performers, they are going to be far off from the audience.
At each table we could have a waiter or waitress taking an order and go to the bar and then return back to your table, instead of if everyone crowding at the bar to get served at once.
But despite these efforts, public health specialist Dr. Orville Nemard still does not think reopening of entertainment is a good idea. Dr. Nemard argues that the country and the world at large are still going through the pandemic. He says the virus thrives in large gatherings.
Anything less than 6 feet of distance is still considered risky. There is no way in that social event that people are going to be shouting across 6 feet at each other. And even if that's the case, we've seen data which, like choirs, for example, persons who are singing and shouting, that there is increased transmission and an increased risk of infectivity for persons around.
Dr. Nemard says he has nothing against party promoters. However, he questioned the reasoning behind reopening of the sector.
Now in June, we have some maybe 20,000 active cases across the island. Our immunization rate is less than 3%, and our positivity rate is consistently in excess of 5%. WHO says we need to have a positivity rate less than 5% for about 2 weeks before we think of reopening our economy.
Associate Professor at the School of Public Health at the University of Technology, Dr. Alvaston Bailey, had suggested that one way to control the spread of the virus is to encourage partygoers to get vaccinated. But Mr. Bell had this to say.
I am, for one person, will not suggest to anybody to take a vaccine or not to take a vaccine. I don't have enough information to tell a man to or not to, so I wouldn't want to be the evangelist of any of that.
The government says it will not require vaccination or COVID-19 tests for people attending these events, but if private organizers wish to include such requirements, they are free to do so. Meanwhile, the government says if party promoters do not obey the rules, then they will have to revisit the measures. Shamala Pullen, TVJ News.